What is your own concept of discipline? When we talk about discipline, what are those things involved?
All right, I would love to say that discipline is unique to each family and to each parent. Generally, right now in this present world or the modern society, we are trying to imbibe what the foreign society are offering to us. But ideally, what I grew up to know as discipline is not what is obtainable now. We see a lot of levity. We see a lot of parents trying to pamper, and some to the extreme that if you flog a child, even in school, when a child is a problem, a teacher can be fired for spanking or for smacking the bum bum of any child, which is not supposed to be so. The hallmark of discipline is to instill change in behavior. There's a difference between discipline and punishment.
Yes.
Discipline, you are trying to, inculcate the right behavior and attitude in this child, not just with when the child sees discipline as punishment, that's when rebellion steps in. So, but if the child sees that you are trying to correct in love, and then bring the child back.
Most times people do mistake discipline for punishment, you see. So is there any distinction between discipline and punishment?
Yeah, very well. Okay, talking about discipline and punishment, I'll say that punishment on its own is a way of discipline. Is another method of discipline. Punishment, as Mrs. Udwak said, it's a way of correcting an attitude or behavior. Well, punishment on its own is inflicting pain. Punishment isn't funny at all. That's why, okay, in a society, you won't hear things like, may God discipline you. So you hear, may God punish you.
Most times we say punish.
Yes. So please, parents, know the way you discipline your child, because it can cause a lot of things: anxiety, low self-esteem, inferiority complex, and the rest.
Welcome to your favorite podcast show, Uproot the Issue Podcast, a segment of podcast that uproots every issue affecting oneself, the family, and society at large. And so today we will be having a conversation on disciplining a child. All right, always in your service is Ekemini Ekwere, your host. So join us as we start this conversation. I'm not doing this alone, of course. I have a psychologist here with me in the studio and a trained journalist. So I would love them to introduce themselves. Okay, man.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mr. Victor Tom. I'm a clinical psychologist by profession. I'm glad to be here.
Mrs. Sudwak, thank you very much for coming here. All right, ma.
Okay, hello, everyone. Purpose Ime, but when I'm with my family members, you can call me Udwag Ime. When I'm on stage, you can call me MC Purpose. I'm a radio presenter at your 100.7 FM. I'm an MC, a writer, and also a journalist.
Thank you very much. What a coincidence, Okay, so, ma, when this topic came in, I discovered that what we actually grew up to see as discipline is not what we are having in recent times. So what is your own concept of discipline? When we talk about discipline, what are those things involved?
All right, I would love to say that discipline is unique to each family and to each parent. Generally, right now in this present world or the modern society, we are trying to imbibe what the foreign society are offering to us. But ideally, what I grew up to know as discipline is not what is obtainable now. We see a lot of levity. We see a lot of parents trying to pamper, and some to the extreme that if you flog a child, even in school, when a child is a problem, a teacher can be fired for spanking or for smacking the bum bum of any child, which is not supposed to be so. The hallmark of discipline is to instill change in behavior. So where that is not done, then we are losing out of it. So discipline is supposed to inculcate the right habits and behavior in a child. And where we tend to ignore that, we have a child who is, having all this maladaptive behavior and going out there and being a social misfit.
Wow. Having and inculcating the right attitudes, the right aptitudes in the life of a child. Okay, so my journalist, sometime I remembered a lecturer of mine had shared a story of getting into the armed force school, and he noticed the child was severely flogged. Most times people do mistake discipline for punishment, you see. So is there any distinction between discipline and punishment?
Yeah, very well. Okay, talking about discipline and punishment, I'll say that punishment on its own is a way of discipline, is another method of discipline. Punishment, as Mrs. Uduak said, it's a way of correcting an attitude or behavior, while punishment on its own is inflicting pain. Punishment isn't funny at all. That's why, okay, in a society, you won't hear things like, may God discipline you. So you hear, may God punish you.
Most times we say punish.
Yes. So punishment is not actually funny. So, and also bringing it back home, when disciplining a child, there is how, my mother used to tell me that this is not the way she was being trained. That if she wants to use that method, I was like, okay, now if you use it, maybe you'll not see any of us in this house. So I think that, and I know that discipline is very much different from punishment. So it's just for you to choose your own peculiar, way of disciplining your child. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. What we have here in Nigeria, if we should compare it to how it's going on in the West, discipline, can you share your own view of what we have practicing here in Nigeria with what we have there in the Western country, the whites?
All right. I'd love to say that, of course, it's different. What we have as African, or what we tag discipline, is different from what we have in the Western world. Okay, in Africa, there are some children that there are things you can't do.
Yes.
And there's no 911 to call in this side. Compared to that side, a child, if you tend to discipline or over discipline a child in their own context, to correct the child can be taken away from you, and then you may not see your child again. But you can't try that. I heard of a story of children misbehaving, and the parents just packaged them after holiday. Say, we are visiting Granny. And then they came to Nigeria. They said, okay, repeat that thing you did before now. And there was no way to call 911. So it differs in each society. But I still prefer the one of Africa. African, the way we discipline our children, trying to make the child to know that you can't just be over pampered. In as much as the family loved this person and care for this person very well, there are some certain laid down societal norms or behavior that is acceptable in the society. There are things you can't do as a child or as an African, and they will not punish you. And don't forget that in the African setting, it's not just the parent that owns the children or the child. It's everyone, the teacher, the neighbors, everyone, is supposed to be, all hands supposed to be on deck to raise a total child. So if a child goes overboard, the teacher or anyone around can correct the child without being, accused of trying to punish the child unnecessarily. So it differs from one society to another. For us, smacking a child when the child's behavior is not acceptable, and then for maybe punishing, corporal punishment, to us is not punishment, in quote, is to instill the proper behavior. Because it's not every time you just say, stop that. You see, I watched a skit and I saw a child, the teacher was shouting, why are you doing that? The child was busy bringing down the bookshelf, scattering things. Say, stop, it's not done that way. The child was busy, dating the whole environment.
That's a private school.
Come and try it here. And be doing that, you have yourself to blame. So each society, why these ones are saying to us, our own culture and our discipline method is extreme, we see it as a way of instilling the right attitude and change of behavior in any child that is not doing well. So it's peculiar to our own people. Like you said, everything starts and ends with the family. the policy, the family policies, the family values would let the child to know, okay, if you go off this path, there is a punishment or there is a particular discipline. Discipline must not necessarily be using cane. There are several ways to discipline a child. So it's not until you use cane. There are some things you can say. There are some children, depending on their personality type as well. There are some you will talk to and the words will get deep into them and they wouldn't want to repeat that behavior again. But there are some you will talk and talk and talk. It doesn't make any sense until cane, is accompanying what you're saying. So it differs family to family, then the personality of the child involved.
Wow. So now moving to you, Ms. Purpose, what has been the contribution of, because I believe this is really happening in school. There are some schools that are bringing down, fading this thing, abusing this thing totally for us. So what do you think has been the, one or two ways that the school have actually increased the rate of indiscipline in children?
Okay, thank you very much. You talked about the family units. So everything begins with the family. And as Mrs. Udwak said, that you need to find a peculiar kind of discipline for a child. Someone like me, personally, you want to use cane to discipline me. You will not get it because you will flog me and finish. I will not even cry.
You're not going to touch you.
So one of the methods when I was in school, boarding school, when I, flip around, insult seniors, try to be stubborn, now I'm exposing myself. So one of the methods that senior students, prefects use was washing toilets. Okay. Chai, if you just tell me I should go and wash toilets, that means you've reset my brain. So that was one form. And also the family has a vital role to play. Everything starts and ends with family. In the modern days now, parents don't really have time to discipline their children because of work. Either the parents are working class, and if you now tell her, I want you to be an housewife, they'll be like, sure, with my certification and the rest. So parents nowadays don't really have time to discipline their children. They leave it for their caretakers, the teachers in school, so their discipline method ends in the classroom. So when they bring it back to the society, someone once said, imagine if the people causing chaos and, the bad things, the baddies in the society now, if they had a good home training from their parents, the country at large would have been a better place. Definitely. So I think parents have a very vital and important role to play in training and disciplining their children.
Parents, the society, the teachers, we all have a vital role to play in inculcating a good habit in our children. All right, this has been a very wonderful and fantastic moment with a psychologist and a journalist. If you are yet to subscribe to our channel, please do so to locate the subscription button and click on the icon as we roll the dice of this conversation. And so, before we call it a wrap, I would love to know what compare with your experience, with your level of exposure as a psychologist with clients, what has been that effect and impact of discipline from the past and what we have here currently? Because I don't get to understand what is going on in recently. Like I can't possibly correct someone's child without the parent, any of them coming attacking me by 9 p.m. now. It can happen.
All right. Comparing discipline then, maybe in our parents' time and now, of course, there is this disparity. And I must say that now there is decadence, as in it's really going down in this way. So now the parent has to take the bull by the horn. You are the one to train, forgetting that each time this child, like I said before now, from 2 years old, the child is going to school, some even before 2 years, mixing with other children from different family background. So now it is in the place of the parent, like you said, not in as much as you are looking out for money to take care of these children, you still need to carve out a time, carve out time to be of help to these children, correct their, behavior. Each time they pick up those behaviors and bring it home, you now sit down to correct it. Why? Because these people are exposed to other children in the society whose parents may not have time for them. So you training your child in a proper way will help this child to know the difference between the right attitude and behavior and acceptable behavior in the society. So where this child has not been, maybe the child is growing in a single parent's home or environment, it will be difficult. So in that case, the parent or the mother or whoever is in charge of that child should introduce the child to a mentor, to a role model, so that they can, or to a family that can accept that child, so that they can have, proper upbringing in the society. Because if a child is not raised well, that child will not just be a problem to that family. It will pose a problem to the society.
Yes.
It will pose a problem to all and sundry. So it is very necessary. It's crucial that we discipline these children in a proper way. Like she said, there's a difference between discipline and punishment.
Yes.
Discipline, you are trying to, inculcate the right behavior and attitude in this child, not just when the child sees discipline as punishment, that's when rebellion steps in. So, but if the child sees that you are trying to correct in love and then bring the child back, like most times when my son is doing something very bad, I'll talk to him. I notice that among the two of them, there is one that words can get in very well. So you don't have any problem. All you need to do is talk to that is person inside, that is ego, and you'll be able to calm down. But this other one, talking doesn't really make sense. You just need to give it to him in his own way, a peculiar way, so that they will all know at the end of it, they'll get to see that it's not just to punish, but to correct a particular behavior. Why am I punishing you? Why am I beating you? Why am I giving you this punishment? They will say, because I did this, I'm satisfied. Because you are not just being disciplined for no just cause. You are being disciplined for what you did wrongly. So it is in the hands of everyone. And then also to school owners, please help the teachers, help every one of them to be able to discipline these children. There are people that are really aggressive towards children. To such, I'm against it. But if it is in form of, like my son returned yesterday, said our teacher flogged us in our knuckle. Well, in as much as it was hard to swallow, that, it showed me the knuckles were swollen. I said, well, those days they used to use ruler to, hit our knuckle. I tried to make him to understand, but inside of me, I was boiling. That teacher shouldn't be doing like that. Also, there are other form of punishment you can give to a child, just isolate them. That's even another way. They want to play with other people. There are different ways apart from flogging. But let's see how we can raise a total child that will be beneficial to the society.
Thank you very much, Ma. So, MC Purpose, I have this strong conviction that whatsoever we miss over time, we can always have a replication now. So now, I believe that this value that we've missed in the past, we can, restore it. So what are those measures that can be put in place so that we can have the structure of discipline, at least to some extent, because it helped definitely from the past now in the present?
Okay. The measures, it's first connection with parents. There's something the formula I call the C²E. That's connection, communication, and education. So you can't educate me when we don't have a connection. You can't communicate properly with me when we've not connected. So as parents, as teachers, as guardians, so if you find children, teenagers, anyone younger than you around you, you need to first connect with the person. That's build relationship with your child. I noticed that I think for that it's better in the 21st century, like the Gen Z now. Compared to our mother's time, they didn't really have that connection. No I mean, now a child can boldly walk to the mom or dad and tell him, Mom, I have a crush in my class. And the mom will be like, oh, wow, can you invite him over for a dinner? But can you try that? You can't even open your mouth and say it.
Why will you utter that in Nigeria? You go die.
So I think there's that connection. So it's just like now, you can't blame me. You can't punish me for something you didn't teach me. You can't punish me for my ignorance. You can't blame me for failing surface and applied surface and colloid chemistry when I'm still in GS3. What's that? So it will be very easy for you to discipline me when you've at least taught me the way. You've showed me the way. So as parents, we need the C²E method: connection with your children, communication, and then education. Don't just leave the education part to the teachers. I know they have a role to play, but at least when you have that connection, when you are connected with me, when you have that solid communication with me, there's something I will do that is bad, and then there's a discipline method you will use that will reset me. It's just like they call discipline resets, factory resets. Yes. But you can't reset something you've not created.
Yes.
So if you've not created that, that model for me, there's no how you'll be able to reset me. So please, parents, know the way you discipline your child, because it can cause a lot of things: anxiety, low self-esteem, inferiority complex, and the rest.
Wow, this has been a fantastic moment with Mrs. Yudi and Miss Yudi. In a very special way, I want to thank you for finding time to join us here to have this conversation. Of course, discipline is not a one-person thing. It is a whip of collective responsibility. As a parent, as a teacher, as an individual, as a villager, of course, you are at the same time as a manager. We all have our roles to play to bring back that culture that we've missed over time. And it has been a wonderful and fantastic moment to do. Just before I leave, let me leave you with a quote from Sigmund Freud. I repeat myself again, that the impression made upon the mind of a child at birth determines the child's personality. How do you want your child to be? Your child's future is determined by your actions and consistent devotion. Thank you very much. It has been a nice time with you. Until next episode, stay safe.